Yo, what's going on, world? Welcome to the Life Malcolm Show. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, right here on In Touch News. You can, of course, check us out at www.intouchnews.com. Also, you can check us out on the YouTube channel. In Touch News, that's the YouTube channel, and on the Facebook page, the In Touch News Facebook page. And you can call in at 813-444-9588 and talk to us tonight. We're going to talk about gun control. You know, there's been a lot of shooting going on, mass shootings and what have you, and a lot of people have things to, different ideas about the reasons why these kinds of killings occur in the United States more than anywhere else. Some people blame it on the political parties, the main political parties in the U.S., the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Some people blame the mass shootings on the National Rifle Association, the NRA. But it's my view that the culture of violence currently expressed in the mass shootings that we see running rampant these days is not a consequence of a Democratic Party, a Republican Party, or the National Rifle Association. It's a consequence of the colonial mode of production and the brutality necessary to keep this colonial mode of production as the status quo. So we're going to talk about that. I've got some history for you about gun control. I'm going to say some things about gun control that you might disagree with. And if you do, I want to hear your thoughts about it. I ain't got no stake in being wrong. If I got it wrong, call me up. Help me get it right. Before we get into any of that, though, as is my custom, I have to express my extreme gratitude to my main man, DJ CEO, and Mrs. DJ CEO, a.k.a. Tampa Bay Tammy, for making this entire thing a reality. We get to come on the air and talk to you in a way we want to talk about things like gun control, and in a way that you won't hear, most likely will not hear, in mainstream circles. Most people, number one, don't know enough to say different, to offer a different analysis. They just kind of go along with what the majority of folks say. Number one. Number two, people who may know and understand the world well enough to provide you a different analysis on the situation, like situations like gun violence and gun control, don't have the guts to go against the grain. Let's put it like that. To speak the truth. Because it's a lot on the line when you pull the wool off of people's eyes, pull. That's not what I want to say, because I guess that's the wrong analogy. But when you unveil, like what you call it when you pull the sheet off, pull the covers back. That's what I'm trying to say. I know it's something about pull something. Yeah, so when you pull the covers back, people feel some kind of way when you expose them. So a lot of people are reluctant to do that. A lot of people in the mainstream media, what have you, and then, even outside of the mainstream media type circles, even in the streets, people don't want to tell the truth a lot of times, because if they know if they tell the truth about you might tell the truth about them, right? So everybody kind of playing the the cover up game and the you don't tell on me, I won't tell on you type stuff. And that's certainly not what goes on here at the Life Malcolm Show. We, with a few exemptions, talk about everybody, anything. Speaking of that, I did want to talk about this thing that came across the radar. I can't remember. I think I watched this guy who does like jokes, like little skits on YouTube. I can't remember if I saw it in one of his skits or if it was just on like my Facebook feed or whatever you call that thing, page, feed, whatever. But it's this museum apparently had a watermelon salad for sale, Juneteenth watermelon salad for sale. And apparently that raised some people's ire. They got upset about watermelon salad for Juneteenth. They felt like it was some kind of racial dig, if you will. And I'm thinking to myself, doggone it. They compared it to something that happened prior, something similar. I remember too, I can't remember what it was, but some kind of thing prior to, I think it was for, maybe it was, I think it was like for Black History Month. They had some kind of food, thing. I think it was Walmart, Walmart had some kind of, I gotta look at it, tell you after the break, but Walmart had some kind of Black History food or something, and people, got all, I would say like this, they got their panties in a bunch. Just because the people said, hey, some watermelon salad for Juneteenth. I'm like, even though it sounds disgusting to me, because I have never eaten a salad with watermelon in it. It just don't sound like. And I eat have eaten a lot of watermelon. Still eat a lot of watermelon. Ate watermelon a lot of ways. Salt on it, hot sauce. Got this other thing, what they call it? It's a little brownish Spanish thing. Put it on your mango too. Anyway, can't think of it now, but nice little spice and go good on your watermelon. I've done that, but I never had watermelon and lettuce and onions and garlic. So I've never done that. So it's not the kind of thing I would do. But it didn't seem. My problem with it was just sound nasty. Didn't look much better than it sounds. But the idea of a celebratory Juneteenth salad didn't really rub me the wrong way, and it made me think that maybe. And it was not only that made me think this, but it was the watermelon seed that broke the camel's back. It just made me think people getting too outrageous with this sensitivity thing, man. This language sensitivity, this characterizations. Hey, if we like watermelon, we like watermelon. So what? We like chicken, we like chicken. So what? I mean, hey, it's that's what it is. Like I know that African people love chicken. Fried chicken. And I'm not saying that other people don't like fried chicken. I don't know. But what I do know is African people love fried chicken. I've been to I have never. I've been to a lot of functions, so I'm trying to see if I can get. I don't think I have. I'm gonna say it concretely. I have never been to a function where Africans serve food, unless they, vegans, now, vegetarians, which is a very, relatively speaking, recent kind of development. But I have never been to a function where Africans serve food and it was some kind of fried chicken, whether it was wings, drumettes, drumsticks, the whole, the whole setup with the quarter thigh. What? I mean, never. Been to quite a few white people functions, like the class reunion I was just at. No, they ain't had no fried chicken. Hey, I'm just saying. It's just we that's what we do. And so what? That's not bad. What's wrong with chicken? People try to make their food taste like our fried chicken. That's why they say everything tastes like chicken. It's not because everything really tastes like chicken. It's because the season that you put on the fried chicken make everything taste like chicken. But anyway, I'm guessing now we've come to the place where we can't say things like it ain't over till the fat lady sings. We have to say it ain't over until the curvy lady sings. And to me, that's just crazy. We ought to be able to express ourselves honestly and truthfully together. And that's why we're so grateful for the Life Malcolm Show and In Touch News Radio. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of truth about gun violence and gun control. See you on the side of the break.
So believe we 100 down 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay. Carr Ricky, he coming. He taking kids state of Florida. Grab a pen of sundown. 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward. Just recline. Just ask Ricky. Push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361 Rick. Call Ricky. Ask Ricky. Legal and medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers in our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
All right, so like I said a little bit ago, we're going to talk about gun violence and this whole idea of gun control. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up this subject is because, as many of you know, I can't even remember all of the locations now. I guess last week there were 3 of them. I think we talked about a couple of them last week. Buffalo, and whatever other ones, man. It just it's happening all the time now. And with somebody runs up on somebody, some place. I think one was a grocery store, another time was a school. So Buffalo was the grocery store. I think it was a place called Uvalde or something like that, Texas. That was a school, and then there was another place. I think a church. I think the church was some African, ran in a church, and at least allegedly ran in a church and shot like 5 people, killed 5 people, something like that. And now it's just some shooting, maybe last week, and something else. So it's just these constant mass shootings, of course, in concert in conjunction with the everyday violence occurring in many communities where it's not mass shootings, but it's still killings by gun, sparks a conversation regarding gun control. Also, the people who I guess, deem themselves politically astute, they seem to want to point the finger towards one or both political parties, saying that the Democrats should do something about it, not doing enough about it. The Republicans need to do something about it, not doing something about it, or either the Republicans or the Democrats are both somehow are beholden to this other entity that's supposed to be, some kind of puppet master pulling the strings and preventing the people in power in these parties from passing gun control laws, the NRA, the National Rifle Association. I kind of understand the logic and how those people could come to such conclusions. My issue with that, though, is colonial violence existed in this territory now known as North America long before the Democratic Party existed, long before the Republican Party existed, and long before the NRA came into existence. You understand what I'm saying? So, and when I say colonial violence, again, you've heard me, if you've ever heard me talk about anything other than something like maybe sports, and I don't talk about that much. You heard me talk about colonialism. Again, colonialism is the colonialism is the social situation where one nation exercises total control and domination by force over another nation. And when I say total control, that means control what you can, where you can go, what you can do, how you can look, even how you can how you can talk. I had this conversation earlier today with my daughter. It was yesterday. My 14-year-old daughter, and we talked about going to the gun range, and she mentioned the fact that her sister and I were, had plans to go to the gun range, and her friend responded that that's some white stuff, going to the gun range. And I was like, that's peculiar. Maybe he just not around Africans who, go to the gun range, but I can see why he would think that way. And that conversation kind of morphed into this discussion about my younger years when my classmates would hear me talk. And back then, I talked a whole lot better than I do now. I've gotten, I don't know, I've allowed myself to relinquish some of my strict grammar and enunciation habits for, whatever reason. But back in the day, boy, we talking about perfect diction and grammatical discipline and all that stuff, man. I was on it, right? And so my classmates would say stuff to me like, "You talk white." I might have told this story before. I remember one time I had just gone to this. I went to Mount Calvary Seventh-day Adventist School from 1st grade to 5th grade. Well, let me back up and say I got my foundation. My foundation was built at College Hill Nursery with Miss Wheeler. Miss Dolores Wheeler wasn't playing. You had to say your A, B, C, and you had to say it right. And your 1, 2, 3s and, your yes ma'ams and no ma'ams. And I mean, there was just a certain expectation of, excellence when you communicated. So, went to 1st grade. Mount Calvary carried that kindergarten, Sister Wheeler kind of character with me to first grade, first through fifth grade, maintained it. Mostly everybody around me had that same kind of attitude towards good diction, and got to this school called St. Peter Claver. That's not true. That's where my children go to school, St. Peter Claver. I'm not talking about y'all. The school I went to was St. Paul. What was it? St. Paul United Methodist, the sixth grade. St. Paul United Methodist. And I don't know. I don't think it's crazy that I remember like many of the students with whom I went to school. I remember the sixth grade class I had. In the sixth grade class, I had 11. There were 11 students, including me. So it was 10 boys and 1 girl, and I can almost name them all. Like, it's sixth grade. That was a long time. That's 37 years ago. But I can almost name them all. Anyway, my first day, it's funny to me still. The first day I'm in the class, I'm the strange dude, because just like I had gone to Mount Calvary from first grade to the fifth grade, these people had gone to school together from first grade, to the fifth grade, most of them, and now they're in the sixth grade together. And so here I am, the new kid on the block, right? And I walk in, sit down, and we had a white school teacher. First time I ever seen a white school teacher. Mount Calvary I don't even think they had white people on the campus. So I never saw a white school teacher. I don't think I'd ever seen a white person up close like that. And so this white woman, no, that's not true. I need to get back to the subject though, but like these stories, but at Lomax, I was at Lomax for kindergarten, because Miss Willis, sometimes we go to Lomax for some kind of training. This white woman, I don't remember her name, because I was like 3-4 years old, but I used the word obnoxious. No, she called me obnoxious. That's what it was. She called me obnoxious. And I went home and told my mother, or asked my mother what the word meant. My mother came and got on that white woman, and the white woman didn't think that I would remember the word, obnoxious, 3-4 years old. Anyway, so this is the second time I've seen like a white school teacher, and the white school teacher wheels in this overhead machine, and I had never seen one before. And I asked the teacher, I raised my hand. She said, yes. I said, excuse me, miss, can you please tell me what that is for? And cat sitting next to me named Gary. I know it's Gary Presley. I never say, now see, if you was a real N-word, I would do it. If you was a real N-word, you say, hey, what's that for? And I was like, I never. And then of course after that I go out. I went to Booker T. Washington around a bunch of public school kids that I ain't never seen before. Some of the people at the St. Paul were people I knew from like some church settings, like so I knew those guys. But now I'm in public school. I've never seen these guys. These guys never seen me. They ain't never been to Christian school, nothing like that. So they say I'm talking white. And over the course of time, I would hear people tell people who spoke good English. You could hear all the T's, and when the K's when they talking. You can hear all the ends of the words when they talking. The beginning, the sound like the instead of duh, that kind of stuff, right? They say, oh, you talking white. And some people would take umbrage at that. You know what you mean? I'm talking white just because I talk proper English. And just imagine the irony in that. Yeah, English is a white language. So if you talking English, even if you're talking it poorly, or maybe not, because if you mess it up, if you mix it up enough, it might not be really English no more. I don't know, but hey, thing is, English is a white language, and that's the truth about that. Just be the truth. So I was talking about how did I get on that anyway? Okay, all right. So look, back to this whole thing about. I had a point to it. The point was colonial violence, the colonial situation. Oh yeah, all about how you talk. That's what I'm saying. They even make you talk a certain way. So you talk the way you talk because of colonialism. Whether you speak whether you African and you speak Spanish, whether you African and you speak French. I remember I got off the plane and the train, and so took the plane to London, and then they speak English there, of course. And when we took a train to France, I'm surrounded by all these Africans speaking French, and it was amazing to me. I was astonished, and I turned to Chairman and I said, "Chairman, look at all these Africans speak French," and he was like, "They speak a colonial language just like you speak a colonial language." And ever since then, it's been clear. Even that whole idea about speaking white became clear to me. People think that Mexican people are Spanish or anybody speaking Spanish is Spanish because they speak Spanish. No, white people. Spain is a European country full of white people. And the other people who ain't Spanish, who speak Spanish because of colonial domination. And so we're going to get back and talk about colonial violence and how that plays in to gun violence here in this current culture, and why and share our thoughts about gun control as well. Right after the break. This is In Touch News Radio, y'all. The Life Malcolm Show. 813-444-9588. Give us a call.
My show that will be all up in your business. Let's Talk Business with Cheryl J. Couso. Every Wednesday at 12:31 p.m. My business experts provide insight for business entities and entrepreneurs. So join us every Wednesday from 12:31 p.m. to 1:31 p.m. at www.intouchnews.com. Catch my show.
God bless each and every one of you, and have a happy 4th of July. This is Pastor Harold Ford. Join us this weekend for the House of Gospel Music. Cherry Johnson tells us about the priests who slapped the babies behind. Evangelist Dorothy Norwood stops by to tell us a real story. And all of your gospel favorites back to back on the House of Gospel Music. Gospel Hallelujah, heard right here on this great radio station.
By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/hereforyou.
What's going on, world? If you just tuned in, this is the Life Malcolm Show. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, and we're right here on In Touch News, where everybody is a star and the biggest star is you, especially if you give us a call, 813-444-9588. We're talking about gun control. We've been talking about colonial domination, colonial violence, and how it plays into gun control in contrast to the common narrative that it's the Democratic Party, Republican Party, or the NRA, because the reality is the Democratic Party did not come into existence until 1828. The Republican Party didn't come into existence until 1854, and the NRA did not come into existence until 1871. But colonial violence was here in the 1400s when Columbus and the rest of his bandits showed up and started doing awful things to the people who were indigenous to this land. As a matter of fact, I learned very recently that there's this woman named Hannah Duston, HANNAHDUSTON. She is the first woman to receive a statue, memorializing herself in North America. I'm not sure. It might have been. Yeah, it was called the U.S. by then. So she had a statue erected. Many say she was the first woman to have a statue erected in her honor, and that first successful erection, because they tried to do it before 1874, but was unsuccessful. But the first successful erection of this woman's statue was in 1874, and the reason why the United States celebrated her is because in the late 1600s, like the 1670s or so, she was going around scalping indigenous people. That was the thing. So there was no a Democratic Party to speak of, no Republican Party to speak of, no NRA to speak of when white people, including white women, did brutal, horrendous stuff to perpetuate colonial domination in North America and in this territory currently known as the United States. There's this guy too named Ginsburg. I can't remember his first name right now, but Ginsburg, he wrote this book called 100 Years of Lynching. Now, this is after, of course, I think his 100 Years of Lynching stars, might be Richard Ginsburg, Robert Ginsburg. Anyway, it's Ginsburg, though. Ginsburg. Ralph Ginsburg. Yeah. 100 Years of Lynching. I think his chronicles start somewhere around 1890 or so, and he just talks about 100 years of lynching. I had a book. It's been a long time since I read it. It's been a long time. But he chronicles this lynching in America, and he's talking about in what was called America at the time. No telling, how much lynching went on prior to the formation of America, but this colonial violence that was a common culture amongst people determined to maintain power and control over other people's lives through violence. No guns, ropes, And you also have this guy, Howard Zinn, who wrote this book called A People's History of the United States. And Howard Zinn does a very good job, I would say, of chronicling the colonial violence that took place from the time Columbus and his band of bandits hit U.S. soil or hit, got here, because it wasn't U.S. at that time, right? But got here and proliferated and did all kinds of horrible things to people in order to take land, claim territory, take over people's lives, dominate people, steal labor, steal resources. Colonial violence has always been in existence. So now, since something like 1883, I think they started making the first assault or semi-automatic rifle, and I think it came out in 1885, something like that, right? So now, after 1885, you get the semi-automatic weapon. But the weapons were almost entirely in the hands of the colonizer. They wouldn't let African people, indigenous people, have the guns. And so the violence that affected the indigenous people and colonized Africans the gun violence that affected colonized people, colonized Africans and colonized indigenous people, because by that time white people colonized them here. There wasn't a gun violence that was perpetrated between the colonized. It was perpetrated on the colonized by the colonizer. And the thing is, when if a colonized person did get a gun, one or two colonized people did get a gun and do some gun violence to another colonized person, guess where they got the gun from? The colonizer. You guessed it. So the notion that somehow it's the Democratic Party, Republican Party, NRA, the semi-automatic weapons, the proliferation of semi-automatic weapons in the community, something wrong with our community that perpetuates this gun violence, is a notion that just doesn't jive with history, because these iterations of this type of colonial violence and gun violence existed long before any of those entities, as I already proved, and existed long before Africans and other colonized people had had guns so that we could do that stuff to each other. But then, of course, the day came when, because the colonizer didn't mind a few colonized people having guns, not for our benefit, but for theirs. Not for our benefit, but for theirs. And that was an old game, even in Africa. One of the things that I believe came out of the Berlin Conference, or at least one of those treaties, was that you can give guns to your colony, to the colonized in your colony, but they can't be the best gun, the newest gun, the strongest. We always had to be a step back. You couldn't get the bang bang pow pow. You had to get the pop pop. You had to get that gun that dude had in Harlem Nights. That pow. You remember that scene? If you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, pow. You had to have that. While they got that pap 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 pap. So that same idea, those same colonizers who put that plan down on the mother continent brought that same idea over here. So now even now, we can't have automatic weapons. You better believe the United States military has automatic weapons. But the common man, right, can't have a automatic weapon. And I know some people might not see the relationship between the practice of keeping guns, or the best guns, from colonized people hundreds of years ago in Africa as a method of maintaining colonial domination, and the same play today, keeping the best of guns from colonized people here, while the military has the superstar firepower. You can't even get certain kind of bullets. The military has armor-piercing bullets. They have bullets that explode on impact. They got all kind of stuff. But if we have it, it's illegal. It's a problem, because it's the colonizer understands that if we both have the same kind of access to guns and firepower, both of being the colonizer and the colonized, it's quite likely they won't be the colonizer much longer. Some of y'all know I have to go to court quite often. I'm in court, several times a week. They shake you down. Some of y'all in court several times a week. You know for yourself. They shake you down when you go in there. You have to take off your belt. You have to take everything out your pocket. If you got on the hat, you got to take your hat off. When you walk through the thing, even if you don't beep, or no, I think if you beep, if you beep, then they wind you down, and you got to lift up your pants. They check your ankles, all that. Even if you have on sandals, and shorts. No, maybe if not sure, you don't have to lift up your pants, but they shake you down, right? And have you ever wondered why? They don't have like a whole lot of money in there. Not a whole lot of gold, not a whole lot of diamonds, right? But they know that if the colonized, the people who get beat down by the court system, were allowed to walk in there with firepower, with guns, you might walk out of there with something that looked like justice to you, right? And so they make sure that they stay a notch ahead. That's gun control. That's you got gun control at the courthouse. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you, the other day, one of the bailiffs or deputies who part of the shakedown process when you walk in the courthouse told me that 90% of the guns that come into the courthouse come from, can you guess?
Police.
Said 90% of the guns that come in there come in from lawyers who forget they done left it in their bag, or what have you. But 90% of the guns that come into the courthouse, actually, I won't say unlawfully, but unauthorized, come in, from lawyers, not common people.
Can an attorney that's got a concealed weapon bring it in?
No.
Okay.
No. But I tell you this though, you better believe that unless a judge has a personal kind of, thing against guns, that judge got a gun at the bench.
They need one.
Maybe so. But my contention is everybody needs one. And that's where I'm going. They make sure that when you come in, they have the upper hand. And that's the same thing. And the courthouse is just a microcosm, just a small example of the larger picture of.
You almost sound like the NRA, where a guy with a good gun can stop a guy with a bad gun. So you're saying everybody needs a gun.
I'm saying that everybody needs a gun. I don't know about a good gun or a bad gun, but what I'm saying is a gun is a deterrent. And
so you're not for gun legislation?
No, and I'm going to explain that. I think we're about to go to break in a little bit. But when we come from break, I'm going to break down. I could talk about, I have a list. I could talk about several states, if not all of them, most of them. United States. But we're going to just deal with some Florida stuff. And I'm going to show you why I'm against this whole idea of gun control if the colonizer is controlling the gun. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Tampa Bay Tammy. Don't forget to pick up your copy of In Touch News.
We're playing your favorite old school. Today's R&B. With a smooth touch of jazz. You're listening to In Touch Radio.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Show. I'm your host, Life Malcolm, right here on In Touch News Radio. So, as I said right before the last break, I'm not with this whole idea of gun control as long as that gun control is in the hands of the colonizer. Because as I pointed out earlier, like when you go to the courthouse, they shake you down, you had to give up your gun, and they get to keep their gun. The judges have their gun, and whoever else, the deputies have their gun, but you can't have your gun, right? And it's not for any other reasons. Not like they're trying to, protect money, protect, property, like diamonds, gold, anything like that. They're trying to protect their ass because they know that you're gonna come in there and get some if you could. And as I said earlier, everybody knows that a gun is a deterrent. That's why the police have it on his hip. Because so you can see it. It's a deterrent. But I promise that I would talk about gun legislation in this country over the course of time. Just talking exclusively about Florida. I'm just run through a few little anecdotes of gun control, gun legislation as they call it, in the United States, in the state of Florida. Slave and free black homes searched for guns for confiscation. That's the name of the little heading this act was. An act to govern patrols. The 1825 Acts of Florida, 5255, Section 8, provided that white citizen patrols shall enter into all Negro houses and suspected places and search for arms and other offensive or improper weapons, and may lawfully seize and take away all such arms, weapons, and ammunition. Section 9 provided that a slave might carry a firearm under this statute either by means of weekly renewable license or if in the presence of some white person. That was 1825. This is 1828. Free blacks permitted to carry guns if court approval. This is Act of November 17, 1828, section blah, blah, blah. You ain't got it, but you can look it up. Florida went back and forth on the question of licenses for free blacks. Twice in 1828, Florida enacted provisions providing for free blacks to carry and use firearms upon obtaining a license from a justice of the peace. 1831, Florida again. All this is going to be Florida, all right? Race-based total gun ban. Act of January 1831, Florida Laws 30. Florida repealed all provisions for firearm licenses for free blacks. Gun control, right? 1833. Slave and free black homes searched for guns for confiscation. Authorized white citizens patrols to seize arms found in homes of slaves and free blacks, and provided that blacks without a proper explanation for the presence of the firearms be summarily punished without benefit of a judicial tribunal. They could lynch you right there. 1840, Florida. Complete gun ban for slaves. What is it? Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna read all the acts, but made, sale, or delivery of firearms to slaves forbidden. You can't even buy it. What else? There's another one. Hold on, got another one. 1861. Getting closer to some of our granddaddy's birth year. 1861. Slave and free black homes searched for guns for confiscation. Provided that, once again, white citizen patrols might search the homes of blacks, both free and slave, and confiscate arms held therein. I think I got one more. Yeah, it might be two more. This is 1866. So this is after 1865 when the 14th Amendment or something like that came about. Just right about 1863 was the 13th Amendment when Negroes could be free or something, and I think 1865 is this 14th Amendment. Florida has a misdemeanor for colored men to carry weapons, and the punishment is whipping. Yeah, catch you with a gun, they whip you. They couldn't whip you if you had your gun, though. Let me see. I mean, and I'm just reading Florida, but you got to be in New York, General U.S. Oh, here's one. Judge, this is 1941. And my mama was born by now. Judge admits gun law passed to disarm black laborers. In concurring opinion, narrowly construing a Florida gun control law passed in 1893, Justice Buford stated, the 1893 law was passed when there was a great influx of Negro laborers in this state. The same condition existed when the act was amended in 1901, and the act was passed for the purpose of disarming the Negro laborers. The statute was never intended to be applied to the white population, and in practice has never been so applied. That's for you law people out there. That's Watson v. Stone, 148 Florida 516. Penn site 524, 4 Southern 2D 700, Penn site 703, 1941. And so I contend, as anybody who knows anything about gun laws do, or anybody that knows about gun laws does, all gun laws, all so-called gun control laws and gun legislation in this country has been passed to make sure that the colonized, certainly colonized African people can't have guns. Period. If you can show me different, call, email, text, get on YouTube, comment, Facebook, comment. And show me when, where, how. And, of course, many of us know the whole idea about the felons can't possess firearms, right? That grew out of Oakland, California, when the Black Panther Party for self-defense rolled up on the steps of I think it was the courthouse, rolled up on the steps of the courthouse with guns. And after a while, they say, hey, we can't have that. And so now, of course, they got this thing that if you get a felony, then you can't have a gun. And they make anything a felony, really. Last week we talked about this sister who knocked over some plastic cups, not even the soft plastic cups too, not even the ones that break. I mean, empty soft plastic cups, not frozen with water. Like you can throw the cup, it ain't going nowhere. You ever tried to throw one of those little empty plastic solo cups, the little clear ones? Ain't going nowhere, right? Knocked them over, maybe threw a few, but now she's facing a felony. So you can get a felony. You don't have to be a bad person to get a felony. Even some violent criminal to get a felony. No, that's not how that works. They come up with a felony for you. What is it? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the law. If you get convicted of a misdemeanor battery once, and so a misdemeanor battery really is just touching or striking somebody against their will, and say you don't know any better, so you take a plea, right? Even if you didn't hurt anybody, nobody got hurt, nobody went to the hospital. Like maybe say you and your brother got into something, and you punch your brother, bam, not even hard, but he whatever, mad. How sometimes you get, so he pressed charges. Now, you don't know what to do. He don't know what to do because you're messing with the law. They all talking to mumbo jumbo. They want him to get the felony. They know they setting him up for the felony. So he take the plea, get a conviction, but do community service, whatever. Bam, misdemeanor battery. If he ever does that again in his life, it touch anybody against their will ever again in his life, it's automatically a felony. The next battery is automatically a third-degree felony. So it's just, anything could be a felony. Well, that's not true. Not anything could be a felony, but a felony don't have to be, this bad, bad person crime. But they would take your ability to protect yourself away from you because they slap this label of felon on you. And so it's my contention that gun control laws have never been a solution to our problem. They've always been a problem to our problem. Malcolm said it best. When they have their flag, we need our flag. They got their army, we need our army. They got their guns, we need our guns. We live in a constant state of war. Mao Zedong said that politics is war without bloodshed, and war is politics with bloodshed. However you look at it, we are in a constant state of war. And there are people in this world who recognize that. And so these killings, these mass shootings are not a consequence of Democrats, Republicans, NRA, the proliferation of semi-automatic weapons like AR-15s. That ain't the problem. The problem is we live in a constant state of war because of this colonial mode of production that runs the world. And any intelligent person should be able to understand that in order to protect yourself from your enemy, you need to at least be as strong as your enemy, or at least the person on the other side of the line, even if you don't call them the enemy.
So 2 questions.
Yeah.
Do we outlaw assault weapons, and do we raise the age to own an assault weapon to 21?
No and no. Absolutely not. What we do is lower the age to driving age to 16. If you can kill somebody with a car, you ought to be able to carry a gun. And the other one,
that's a little irresponsible to me, in my opinion.
Well, how you gonna let somebody ride around with a 10-ton machine? I mean, I mean, just look at it. Let's see how many people get killed in Florida with guns and how many people get killed in Florida with cars, and then we can say what's responsible and what's not. Because in my view, it's more people killing with cars than guns. I mean, I don't know. I never ran the stats, but I hear way more fatal car crashes than I hear fatal shootings in Florida. But so I'm saying, if you're gonna let somebody drive around with this 10-ton, this 2-ton killing machine, then they should be responsible enough to carry a gun. My children, 13, 14 years old, we on the range. So when they 16, why they can't have their own?
So do you equate all the mass shootings with loose legislation? And
Yes.
if we had more legislation, there would be no mass shootings?
No, what I'm saying is if it's loose legislation, the legislation is too loose, meaning that no, it's too tight because it restricts people from being able to protect themselves. Do you think some fool gonna walk up into a church, they know everybody got a gun? Everybody.
So do the other countries have it wrong and we got it right? Or since these other countries don't have all these mass shootings?
Well, these other countries, number one, don't have this colonial mode of production at the height that the United States does. The United States is the greatest purveyor of violence because it's the biggest colonizer in the world. So they have to have 700 military installations around the world, all these police and sheriff department and all these things, marshals and all this stuff, to dominate. And the thing is, my contention is guns are a deterrent, and everybody knows it. That's why colonizers keep their guns and take yours from you. And if we were to do stuff like learn how to fight, go shoot, go do hand-to-hand combat stuff, and make sure that we can protect ourselves from people. Because listen. Everybody might know. My son was shot dead in my front yard, and so this coming from a person who don't think I don't know what it's like. I ain't lived through it, but I guarantee you, had I been sitting on the porch with the gun, it would have been a different situation. I don't know what the outcome would have been, but I know it would have been different. And so my firm belief is that political power comes from the barrel of the gun. If we want power, if we want to stop the people from killing us who kill us, then we have to be prepared to make sure that they can't do it. And there's nothing in history that teaches me that gun control does that. It's not the NRA's fault, not the Democrats' fault, not the Republicans' fault. It's the colonial mode of production's fault, and we got to do everything we can to get our guns, stay strapped, so we're ready to overturn it. That's me. That's tight, right? Yeah. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Life Malcolm Show right here on MTS News Radio. If you got questions, hit me up, man. LifeMalcolm@gmail.com. And call me next show. We can talk about it if you want to.